All right, so my name is Anna Priedola. I'm from Liepāja, and I work in Liepāja University Art Research Laboratory. And the topic of my presentation, as Rasa introduced, is food. And indeed, the last 5 years I have been working mostly with food as material in art. And I like it because food is partially nature and also part of our culture. Although it is not often included in like highbrow art and gallery art. I try to kind of overcome it because also of my interest in the kind of multi-sensory properties of food, that you can not only visually kind of consume it as most of visual arts, but also texturally by smell and also even by sound when eating. And there is this kind of problem, and mostly also kind of thought for food for thought, that food is both in these two sectors of nature, that it is grown, it is real, bodily, tactile, and it is often, and it's becoming more and more, also part of the culture field, as it is genetically modified. It is cooked, as Saussure said. Saussure made this old anthropologist made this triangle of culture and nature, where food, if it rots, it becomes part of nature. If it is cooked, it is suddenly culture. But then there are some foods like cheeses, which are both like rotten and cooked, and also our currently genetically modified banana clones, which are very much also part of our culture. And originally, like 5 years ago, I was interested more in these sustainability topics. Recently, I'm a bit shifted off when using food, but now for this seminar, I returned in this past of 5 years ago, when I was mapping and using food for data visualizations, when I was mapping Liepāja biological food network, as it was called, and just as naming some food biological and some not, seemed very interesting for me, because it is still, everything is grown, even if it's genetically modified. And so I researched how much you can actually buy, how much, what can you eat when really growing food locally in this cyclic manner, using the so-called traditional technologies, which are actually technologies of like 18th century, maybe 19th, like it's not super ancient, but it is part of what we believe to be traditional way of growing food, preserving food. So, I concluded that if we would eat only local Latvian, it is quite limited diet. The top 5 products is eggs, milk, apples, carrots, and potatoes, of course. And during winter, it is a very kind of low color diet with just a pinch of red from beets. And during spring, then you can get some bit of greens and so on. And when working on this project, I also read Timothy Morton, which was already mentioned here today, particularly Dark Ecology, which raises a lot of these interesting questions, and it contextualizes that basically the origin of our capitalist culture, which has made a lot of great impact on our earth, is this agricultural logics or agri-logistics, that we really make this difference between culture and nature. We make this border, like also of our garden and then of the wild food, and we choose kind of quantity over quality and diversity. It's better to have a lot of potatoes, a lot of milk, stored in like that it's accessible every time we want, not like really diverse food, but not predictable when we will get it. And and part of this agricultural logics is also this cyclic culture, that there comes, especially it's present here in this where we have the change of seasons. Seasons, couldn't remember the word. That you know, if we do some particular rituals, there will be rain, and then we will get good yield, and that, you know, there is the cycle of nature. But currently, due to the human action and inaction, the nature becomes quite unpredictable, and it seems that maybe our traditional kind of these algorithms, which rituals are, if you do that, you get some outcome, that they might be, you know, not really thought through particularly well. And Morten says that, yeah, we believe that, you know, also by using computers, we can predict the outcome of our actions, but actually these feedback loops might be quite unpredictable. For example, when starting, you know, to make awareness of vegetarian diet being sustainable for the planet, there's this even, you know, meme of millennials eating the avocado toast. But how the avocados that are, you know, there's suddenly a great demand for avocados, to make avocado toast in New York. But avocados are grown in places with water issues. So this again makes big water stress, and again kind of actually fosters the climate change. So in this very large global scale, we must be very, very kind of cautious about these cultural algorithms we use and the feedback loops that can come out of these our actions. Then for some 2 years ago, for one RIXC conference, which was about greening and ungreening, I was thinking about ungreening food art, which you also see that my green cabbage is turning a bit black. And this is where I turned from this agriculture to capitalism a bit more in one pop-up exhibition, where I also used food for data visualization, comparing the average Latvian income to the most wealthy Latvian income. And here you see that it was very interesting. I really like this property of food, that it changes over time. It's not stable medium. And these big piles, they had a lot of humidity, so they started to turn black and mold and stink and rot. And the little average Latvian income just dried out, and it was, you know, it at least didn't make people to want to vomit or like have some repulsive connections. Recently I have been working more and more using food as a means for data visualizations, for different kinds of information depiction. And the reason why is to diversify also how we kind of consume information also, and world also, how we, because I think especially now in the Zoom culture, more and more and capitalism a lot uses it, this visual form of communication, that for example here I compared two images from Google, how the original hunter-gatherer looking for food should look like, where you kind of use your touch and smell because you don't see really where the food is, and current kind of looking for like berries and fruits which are packed, and actually you don't even see the potato itself, you just see a brand and a big price logo. So it's very different modes of interacting with the world. And so I think maybe also some kind of change of our conclusions can be if we also interact with the information differently, by also tasting, smelling, and touching it with different body parts. And the recent topic of my research has been dementia. where I have been working with dementia patients to raise awareness, because I suddenly got this dementia in my family, and it really changed the everyday. It suddenly also made one stop and not think about, you know, this eternal progress, but to be here. And it's interesting, very interesting with people who have dementia, that they are quite in the moment. They forget the past or what has been like 2 seconds ago. They're just asking all the time, you know, what's happening now, what should we do? And they're not thinking about the future. So it is quite different. It is again very kind of grounding experience sometimes. And yeah, in this project, Dairy Diaries, we collaborate with people as art mediators to really raise awareness of dementia in Latvia, which is a topic not talked about almost not at all until now. And yeah, used dairy products to depict dementia statistics. For example, that we must be aware that it is an important topic because 1/5 of the society is over 65 years old, so they're in the risk group. And there's also statistics that in Latvia, very little dementia is diagnosed, so this means that it's also not treated compared to like European statistics. And also globally, it's a very, very important topic. Here's like World Health Organization data, which I depicted with Kurd, that you know, in 2015 we had 50 million of dementia patients, but in 2050 we could have 152 million of dementia patients on the world. So yes, I had an exhibition in Medicine Museum in Riga about it. And we ran also a lot of workshops, both with dementia patients, which is where really food is used as a means of communication, because you can't, you know, ask very difficult topics and have like conversations with people who can't sometimes talk. But food is one of these last, you know, skills that remains, that you can have a conversation and also bring up childhood memories and actually spend good time together with. And yeah, with that I might also conclude.
And what would be your question? So what you would like to discuss later?
One question is this, Morton's, this question about the feedback loops. If we can predict the outcome of our kind of choices, even if, you know,
or
how far can we predict, if like big data and AI can help, which is, you know, the new Green Deal, that we will use supercomputers to predict and to analyze climate data and to predict the right kind of choices. And the other question is, yes, if we should kind of maybe move away from this remote visual, you know, visual perception is quite distanced, and maybe, yeah, use more kind of other sensory approaches to kind of interact with the world, and yeah, to maybe also act differently. If we perceive differently, maybe we will also react differently.
Okay.
Right, thank you.